right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How are you all doing? We're live on YouTube, Rockfin, Twitter, Twitter, and on Callin. William, how you doing on Rockfin? All right, people of Rockfin, get in there. And we got some people here already, so cool. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. And let's get ready to rumble, as they say. I did actually. Fleur Ali gave me a contribution on buy me a coffee, but I didn't actually see the comment until last night. Something. So they sent me something about Congress mandating a study on solar radiation modification. Okay. I don't know. They're saying, well, we're going to study solar radiation management. That's what they're saying in this. And I say, psh, you're funny. It's not that hard to figure out. You already know everything about it. Don't act like you're like, well, we're getting ready to study it. It's just so lame. Anyways, whatever. But they gotta play the game as if it's kind of like the game of hope we don't make it to 1.5. We gotta right the whole time, the last like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years that they've been going, we got to watch out for 1.5 all the time, all the while, and insisting that it was like 1.1, 1.2, 1, since whatever random baseline they decided to go with. And then, right, so they wanted to just hold back on actually admitting that we were at 1.5 for as long as possible, or that we were like right up on it. And who knows where we really are now? They're saying 1.75 within the next couple of years, which means basically we're at 2. Again, what they're admitting to is really going on. So it took them until this year to go like, oh well, yeah, okay, we're at 1.5, and they're just going to play this game about solar radiation management. Like, well, we have a lot to learn. We're going to study it and let you know what we find out. And then, one day, pretty soon, I guess, probably in the next, year or two, I'm guessing. In the next year or two, they're going to go, oh, yeah, we're ready to roll it out. In fact, we've already been doing it. We've been testing it for the last few years. Of course, because we told you we were testing it. And we're doing it. What they're not telling you is that they've been testing it and doing it since, probably the 70s, I'm guessing. Maybe earlier. And this is just a game that they're playing. But, I guess they're admitting out loud that something about it being in the future. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more. See if we can. I wonder if I can make this play. I doubt it. George Carlin, man, what a mind he was. Let's see if this works here. Can we get sound on it? This question.
A divorce, and I needed it.
I hear that'll do it. Yeah.
I found that, artistically, tell you the truth, as a writer, it gives you an emotional separation from the outcome. A lot of comedians I hear, when they complain about stuff, they seem to imply that everything could be all right if we just do this or just do that. I don't care. It's never going to work. If you think there's a solution, you're part of the problem. That's what I believe. So, I guess it's true. But I root ultimately for the big comet or the big asteroid to come here and get things right.
So would you say that you hate people? I mean, is that a fair thing to say?
No. Individually, I love them. Every person I meet, I sort of like, and I'm not trying to be corny here, but I see the universe in them. You can see a part of everything and everyone, and they're just wonderful to look in their eyes. But when they start to group, when they get into clots, when there's, for instance, groups even as small as 2, what happens is they begin to surrender the beauty of the individual for the sake of the group. People change. And then the bigger the group, as the group gets bigger, 6, 8, 12, 15, 115,000, they begin to have hats, armbands, little slogans, lists of people they don't like, and it gets out of hand. So I'm in favor of people one by one, but in large groups, I would like to see them disappear.
Oh, so that's where you want the comet all net through the ozone layer.
We have to get back to the ferrets. I lost all faith in this species.
Tell me George Carlin wasn't an extinctionist. For all the people that love to quote George Carlin and love to play George Carlin clips and love to call people anti-human, that's about as anti-human as you can get. Or not anti-human, just anti the human condition, I guess, or the human, what humans do. Could we do better? I don't know. I think so, but Flora Lee, you don't know about that. Oh, Timothy posted it. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Let's keep it moving, shall we? I was also listening to Elon Musk on the Joe Rogan show. And I don't know. He was like, he's pretty anti-extinctionist. These are people having a hard time riding their bikes during this storm. Syrian, or is that what was the name of it? Anyways, poor people. Anyways, Elon Musk was talking about, I don't know, talking about the extinction propaganda or whatever he thinks that is propaganda. That it's all over for us, and he thinks that's like a liberal, I guess, I don't know what you call it, interest. Yeah, just having a hard time on the gay bike path. Yeah, or it's a rainbow, actually. It's or it's a kid's bike path. Somebody commented about that, and I thought that was very interesting. I thought it was like kind of an interesting. They're like, rainbows, things that everybody used to love, right? Or things that people were like, rainbows, I love rainbows, and kids especially, I love rainbows, and they're like, but then they made it like, a thing that is like you have to like think twice about. Well, I'm not saying, maybe I'm not implying anything like homophobic or whatever that means, but I'm just saying, right? It's like, it's a rainbow. It's just a rainbow. But it means so much now. Let's see. Flora Lee on Rockfin says, in Ghent, Belgium, falling tree branches killed 2 people, a 5-year-old child and a 64-year-old woman, as well as several injuries. Fatalities have also occurred in France, Netherlands, Germany, and Spain. Okay. Anyways, going back to Elon Musk was saying like, oh, there's this extinction propaganda, and that's why everything is so bad. And I was kind of like, okay. And he's also, yeah, isn't a rainbow like a Earth Day thing or something? I don't know. Anyways, because Elon Musk is a humanist, but he was also at the same time talking about the limits of renewable, like electric cars, the technology. He was saying there's just no way you can't cover a car in solar panels. It's just not like physically possible to cover a car in solar panels and have it, power the solar panels, power the car. And I'm taking it on face value. When he said that, I was just like, well, okay. Maybe the technology hasn't advanced enough or something. But if that's true, and he was also talking about the limits to, batteries and other things. I was just like, man, it sounds like this technology is really limited. It sounds like it's not really going to work out. The way we think it is, but I don't know. Well, I hope his optimism and his hopium, I hope it works out for him and for everyone. I actually do. Honestly do. As much as people might want to rag on me for it, I'm not interested in seeing everybody go down in a very painful way. That's just not really something I'm looking forward to. I actually think the way in which we organize ourselves on the planet Earth is actually anti-human. It's actually extinctionist. It's selfish and wasteful and shoddy and sloppy and poisonous and hurtful, right? The way the big fat oil gobbling war machine that pretty much drives forward, human civilization is the most anti-human thing you could possibly think of. So, talk to me again about who it is that's an extinctionist and who's a humanist. I want us to see, I want to end the military industrial complex and for people to come home and stop driving all over the planet and destroying, and for us to stop destroying each other and all the other, living organisms on planet Earth. I want us to stop doing that with an onslaught of poisons and plastic and oil. I want us to stop doing that and maybe, cease and desist all those activities and start growing food again and live a little, closer in harmony with the planet and how the planet works. I would say that's not extinctionist in any way, shape, or form. That's more human than any of these like super billionaire people out there who want to save the planet with their merging of man and machine. Aren't the colors for basic binary like pink and blue? If we were going to get real like heteronormative, there's only 2 colors on the rainbow. No, I don't know. But I don't know. I could totally be wrong. All this climate change stuff could just be a bunch of hooey. it all could be a bunch of hooey, and everything's going to be fine if we would only if they would only stop geoengineering the planet and admit that there's an endless supply of fossil fuels and there's nothing wrong with burning fossil fuels. I hope that works out for everybody. It's probably it's cisgender binary. Yeah. It's too much. It's too complicated, man. Here's heavy floods due to heavy rainfalls in the Dammam of Saudi Arabia. It's going to be really hard to have a war in the Middle East when everything's underwater. Maybe Mother Nature will save us from ourselves. Maybe Mother Nature will give us a 40-day and 40-night flood in the Middle East. Just like old times. Just taking us back to the good old biblical days. 40 days and 40 nights of flood. Maybe Mother Nature will do that for us. And then they'll be like, we got to get this ground invasion, but Jesus Christ, we've been waiting for the rain to stop for 40 days. Pretty much wiped everything out. We're screwed. Darn. That'd be cool. Mother Nature for the win. For the win on that. I know. So, when Mother Nature slaps humans around and maybe gives us an indication maybe we should slow down. Is that anti-human or is that pro-nature? Pro-Earth? Is pro-Earth anti-human? I don't know. I can't keep track of anything. But wait, don't we live on Earth? If Earth isn't happy with us, is it that there's no authority? Or we can't be the authority. Only God can be the authority. Well, isn't God Mother Nature? Is Mother Nature God? If God sends us floods and wipes out our civilization, isn't God trying to give us a lesson? Shouldn't we sit down and listen? Should we take heed? Shouldn't we humble ourselves and learn a lesson about this? I don't know. Wonder what God is trying to tell me. Stop being a ego-driven maniac, destructive a-hole? Is that what God is trying to tell me? I mean, I don't know. I'm confused about what's anti-human and what's pro-human, and I can't figure that one out. Let me see. Things aren't going so good for humans on this planet. Things seem wildly out of control. But maybe we're just focusing too much on the negative. Ben C says it's been common knowledge for at least 5 years among everyone who knows anything about climate change that warming threatened to be faster than expected, with 1.5 C in the 2020s, 2 C soon after, and 3 C possibly by 2048, 2052. You guys got an over-under on 3 C? Mass media stayed silent. Y'all got an over-under on 3C? You guys got a date? Here. This is from the Wayback Machine. Global heating is accelerating, warned scientists who sounded climate alarm in the 80s. This is I don't know why it says today, but it's archived already today. Why? I don't get it. Anyways. Global heating is accelerating faster than is currently understood and will result in a key temperature threshold being breached as soon as this decade. According to research led by James Hansen, the U.S. scientist who first alerted the world to the greenhouse effect, the Earth's climate is more sensitive to human-caused changes than scientists have realized until now, meaning that a dangerous burst of heating will be unleashed that will push the world to be 1.5 C hotter than it was on average in pre-industrial times within the 2020s and 2 C hotter by 2050. I don't know. Think about that one right there. I don't know how we get to 1.5. I don't know how we get to 1.5 by the 2020s, and then it takes us 3 decades to get 0.5 more. That means you're looking at the trend, line, and you're noticing that it's going up faster than usual. It's got that little, exponential thing going on. But somehow it's like that equation right there doesn't make any sense. Not on like a basic simple math. Like we got to 1.5 C by 2020 and then it's going to take us a long time to get 0.5 more. Right? That would mean that the graph looks like this. Oh, hold on. I'm trying to do it backwards for the screen. Let's see. This way. Right? It goes or it just it's like all the scientists just can't even at any moment are willing to jettison logic just to say some stuff about 2C by 2050. Okay. This alarming speed up of global heating, which would mean the world breaches the internationally agreed 1.5 C threshold set out in the Paris Climate Agreement far sooner than expected, risks a world less tolerable to humanity. Well, it sounds anti-human to me. You mean the world's not going to tolerate humans? What are you trying to say? With greater climate extremes, according to a study led by, I hate these climate scientists. The former NASA scientist who issued a foundational warning about climate change to the U.S. Congress back in the 1980s. Hansen said there was a huge amount of global heating in the pipeline because of the continued burning of fossil fuels and Earth being very sensitive to the impacts of this. Far more sensitive than the best estimates laid out by the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. We would be damned fools and bad scientists if we didn't expect an acceleration of global warming. Well, that's why I had a question about that timeline. I mean, global warming is accelerating, right? I don't understand the whole 1.5 by 2020s with a possible 2 by 2050. Okay, I don't get. If it's supposed to be accelerating, that means possible 2 should be next year, or right? 2020s, 2C by 2030s. Bing bang, bing bang bong. That's that. I mean, what? I don't, what's so hard to understand about that? But it is James Hansen even, trying to let us down easy or trying to give us a little soft shoe on that? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, we're in an early phase of a climate emergency. So such acceleration is dangerous in a climate system that is far out of equilibrium. Reversing the trend is essential. We must cool the planet for the sake of preserving shorelines and saving the world's coastal cities. To deal with this crisis, Hansen and his colleagues advocate for a global carbon tax. Well, that should do her. What do you guys say? Global carbon tax, is that going to fix the problem? As well as, more controversially, efforts to intentionally spray sulfur into the atmosphere in order to deflect heat away from the planet and artificially lower the world's temperature. So-called solar geoengineering has been widely criticized for threatening potential knock-on harm to the environment. Yeah, and this is, this part is where it goes a little off, a little off the path of logic too, but okay. What say you? We're in a global, we're in runaway heating. It's not 2C by 2050. It's I know already. Everybody's going to say we're already at 2C or 2.5 or 3 or whatever. We're just assuming, we're going on the assumption we're at 1.5C right now, and that 2C is right around the corner. And so let's say 2C is really actually 2030 and not 2050. Emergency, flashing red lights. What do we do? Do we do solar geoengineering? Do you guys think that that is the way to go? Do you think that's helpful? Do you think that's worth the trouble? Do you think that's... I'll just read this paragraph too. So-called solar geoengineering has been widely criticized for threatening potential knock-on harm to the environment, as well as over the risks of a whiplash heating effect should the injections of sulfur cease. Like, say, if we have an economic collapse or, a world war or any kind of political instability which would keep those planes from getting up into the sky and spraying the sulfur into the air. You think that's a wise thing to do? It's kind of like nuclear power. Hey, let's get an energy source that requires constant monitoring and massaging in order to keep. If we let go of the control levers, a meltdown occurs and it spews radiation, killing everything around it. Do you think that's we're assuming that humanity is so stable in our government and our institutions and our infrastructure, is everything around us is so stable, we're just going to keep these nuclear power plants going without interruption and forever and ever. You think that's a good idea? I'd like to know who thought that one up. Who's the person who was like, I think we could build a bunch of these. I think we could build 400 or something. We just keep building them. And if anybody ever lets their hand off the lever, the control lever, well, it's, pretty much, get a couple of these going at the same time. It's pretty much the end of humanity. But, it's all good. I'm pretty sure we're going to stay, humans are just going to, we're so dominating. We're just going to stay so stable on the planet Earth. We're just going to keep everything just tightly controlled, because history tells us that's how we operate. Is there a person who thought this one up? Does he have a name? But tell me more about extinctionists, Elon Musk. Tell me more about the humanists and their super great plans for the future. Anyways. Well, Hansen said that while cutting emissions should be the highest priority, thanks to the slowness in developing adequate carbon-free energies and failure to put a price on carbon emissions, it is now unlikely that we can get there, a bright future for young people. Oh, from here, without temporary help from solar radiation management. Ew. I don't know. I'm going to stop reading this because I'm going to get a little I feel a little anger coming on. Or just I don't know what. I'm sure this should help. This article here should be good for morale. Steve Austin reposts this. Oh, hey, look. An e-car factory helping to save the planet. Toyota is building a new car plant in Liberty, North Carolina, 17 miles from Greensboro. Pretty sure there's no train connecting Greensboro with this Toyota plant. Pretty sure there is no train. Probably there might be buses, maybe. 17 miles though on a bus. Who wants to do that? The plant involves the clear cutting of a massive previously forested and agricultural area. Toyota plans to build a massive surface parking lot on top. This is the plans. All right. Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Yep. Yeah, that should do her. That should do her. Cool. I mean, I think we need more cars. Don't you? I mean, we're going to need more cars for the people that have to drive from Greensboro to Liberty every day. Or, work at this plant. I think we need some more cars. That would be the humanist thing to do. Is to build more cars. I'm thinking. Just thinking out loud. Sure. According to his calculations, this is David Wallace Wells. According to his calculations, even when the gas is delivered with the most modern ship, taking the most direct route, the emissions from the entire life cycle of LNG are 24% worse than those caused by digging up and burning an equivalent amount of coal. And they told you that this was a renewable source of energy. And guess what? It is not. Turns out it's not. This is from Bill McKibben, October 31st, 2023. A new analysis suggests that LNG exports may well be worse for the environment than burning coal. Ew. Oh my. Well, it's nice of Bill to let us know. The Biden administration faces one of its most profound climate choices this autumn. Should it continue to allow the expansion of liquefied natural gas exports, or should it halt the rapid build-out of this industry, at least until it can come up with new guidelines? All right, guys, here we go. What's your bet? Place your bets. What do you think they're going to do? Are they going to halt the build out of natural gas exporting capabilities in order to create new guidelines? Or are they just going to go forward? What's your bet? Everybody place your bets. Come on. There's money on the table. Let's go. Yep. So there's new data that may make the administration's choice easier, or certainly starker. The data are from an analysis by Robert Warren Howarth, professor of ecology and environmental biology at Cornell, who is one of the world's premier methane scientists. The analysis attempts to establish the greenhouse gas footprint of LNG exported to Europe and Asia, and the numbers presented are astonishing. Coal-fired power has long been the standard for measuring climate damage. When burned, coal releases carbon dioxide into the air in large quantities. In recent years, Howarth has demonstrated that domestically natural gas is no better for the climate than coal, largely owing to the methane leaks associated with it. Now, though, it appears that exporting LNG, because of the extra leakage of the supercooled gas during transit, could allow even larger amounts of methane to escape into the atmosphere and hence could do more damage to the climate than coal does. The leaks come at every stage of the process, Howarth explains. Even once the gas is compressed aboard ship in insulated tanks, some of it boils off as heat leaks through the insulation. Newer tankers try to burn that boiled off methane for fuel, but even then, Howard says, some of it is emitted unburnt into the exhaust stream. He notes it all adds up. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Isn't natural gas one of the pillars of so-called green energy? Isn't switching to natural gas way better for the environment, dude? Just like switching to biofuels. Guadalajara got hit by some of the old got a little bit of the old biblical, right? Guadalajara, Mexico got inundated. Oh, I forgot to show this yesterday. This is what the thumbnail was from yesterday. That happens to me all the time. Well, these are floods in County Down. County Down. In the UK, the levels are above all historical records for those suggesting they just need to clear the drains, or there have always been floods. He said for those clowns. Oh yeah, we have floods every once in a while. Oh, you like to visit your haberdasher? Get you some new kicks and or trainers, as we call them. Let's get some trainers and a new fit. Right. I like the pumpkin up here. That's a good touch. What is that, like chest deep water? Waist deep at least? Dang. This is from Chris Martinson. I want to play this. Wanted to play this for a couple days. Haven't made it there. Because I am just going off on the highways and the byways of other things. Chris says, this is what everyone needs to hear. This man breaks down the unrealities of going fully electric in under 2 minutes with the same precision most guys discuss their fantasy football teams. Before I play this, though, I wanted to say the readers added context. The Tesla Semi, he's talking about semi-trucks powered by batteries, is verified to have a full load single charge range of 500 miles. Enough for a full day. I don't know. The battery is 900 kilowatts or 1 megawatt hour. So energy use is far less than the claim. The Semi is better on mountain grades encountered by logging trucks and cheaper to operate. Okay. Chris Martinson goes on to say the community note is unhelpful. While the man in the video could have said megawatt hour instead of megawatts, the math holds up. 1 gallon of diesel equals 38 kilowatt hours. 2.5 megawatt hours equals 68 gallons of diesel, which seems reasonable for a day of hauling. So he broke down the math. He broke down the math or the comments on the math. The link video in the community note shows a truck with a battery pack of just 850 kilowatt hours, equivalent to 22.4 gallons of diesel. That, my friends, isn't going to get the job done for a logging truck. No how, no way. Whoever's behind this community note, you failed at your job. If you'd care to have the conversation out in public, let's have it. So he's calling out the community note as maybe not helpful. So let's listen to what this guy breaks down here.
Grid infrastructure gets better, but like this truck, like a logging truck,
Do you ever see yourself going 100% EV?
no.
And why not?
I mean, maybe if battery technology gets better, grid infrastructure gets better, but like this truck, like a logging truck uses about 2.5 megawatts of power per day. With extra capacity in the battery means you need a 3 megawatt battery pack. The biggest one is like a Tesla Semi, which is like a 1 megawatt. So you need 3 megawatts to run an electric truck. That would mean you would need to pack 50,000 pounds, 50,000 pounds of batteries just to do a full day. And then let's say we can even get those batteries down to the same weight where it's reasonable. The grid infrastructure, we haven't invested in our electrical grid since the 1950s, 1960s, 70s. Like, to give you an example, logging trucks in BC, that's a niche industry. There's 5,000 logging trucks that haul logs at 2.5 megawatts of consumption per day. That's 12.5 gigawatts of power. Site C Dam has been under construction for the last, 15 years at a cost of $20 billion, and that has a 1.1 gigawatt. So a $20 billion dam that takes 15 years to build has a 1.1 gigawatt capacity, and logging trucks, just logging trucks alone, are using 12.5 gigawatts. You would have to flood an area of land the size of Wales to produce that hydropower. Well, like we need a lot to make a fully electric feasible on the North American grid with batteries and all that. But if you can make it more efficient and you can make it a hybrid and you can reduce your fuel consumption by 50% and you can burn that as a generator where it's 1 RPM, running hot, burning cleaner, well, isn't a 50-60% reduction in emissions a lot better than investing everything into a fully electric technology that's not really going to work for 90% of the applications, meaning that the other 100% are still burning 100% of the diesel?
Yeah. Osama, he's a smart guy. And he broke it down pretty succinctly. And yeah, like hybrid technology makes way more sense than just fully electric batteries. It makes way more sense at this moment. I'm not necessarily advocating, and you also have the Jevons paradox of, something being more efficient, not necessarily saving you energy, right? You're just gonna run more. But I mean, I've driven a hybrid for a long time, and I can tell you, it's a lot cheaper than a regular car, for sure, by far. I actually drove, and I'm aware of the negative aspects of driving a car, hybrid or not, or electric or not. So I try to drive my car as little as possible, hybrid or not, electric or not. Yeah, and I discussed this earlier in the show. Yeah, Deline, batteries will not do what diesel has or can do for the trucking industry. And I was saying Elon Musk was pointing out the limits of the technology. There's that you're not going to get like a solar panel covered car or truck that's going to self propel, right? Basically. And there's going to be limits to battery capacities, and unless they come up with something better. Anyways, good one from Chris Martinson. Let's see. Got a couple minutes left in the show. Let's cover a few more things. Well, I'm going to go outside of cover two stories real quick before we go that are not climate change related. This is a retweet from Elon Musk from Benny Johnson. Judge overturns Bridgeport Democrat mayoral primary election. Did you guys hear about this story? That so it's never okay to question. You can't be an election denier if you are of a particular political alignment. But they sure as heck questioned this Democratic primary election. And one of the candidates called fraud and went to court, and the judge agreed there was massive evidence of fraud. So, take your whole election denier thing and kindly wad it into a ball and throw it into the trash just because you don't like a particular candidate or people that support a candidate. These claims get made all the time, and right? They dragged Donald Trump through Russiagate for 3 years because of election denial, and then turned around and said, well, you can't do that. You can't actually question an election when Donald Trump tried to do it. So it's, surely hypocritical. But anyways, this, sends up the issue, which is there is massive tampering with elections, right? There's massive, we know that there's problems with elections. Judge overturns Bridgeport Democratic mayoral primary election, calling evidence of fraud shocking. Goes on to say the volume of ballots so mishandled is such that it calls the result of the primary election into serious doubt and leaves the court unable to determine the legitimate result of the primary. Clark wrote in his ruling, adding that the videos are shocking to the court and should be shocking to all the parties. Oh, and this is a really this one got a lot of traction of this woman stuffing. This is Wanda Geeter Pataki, vice chair of the Bridgeport Democratic Town Committee, an operations specialist for the city, stuffing ballot drop boxes. Just when you thought they were the most fairest and safest ever of elections. And lastly, there's this story about. Yeah, hold on, that's not it. Oh, geez, I don't have the link for this. Whoops. Sorry. Can't show you this one because somehow the link disappeared. Oh, well. Yeah. I don't know if I want to cover that. We're still on the tube. The tube. What is the United States doing in Syria? I think we all know this. There was a woman, a journalist, who actually lost her life mysteriously, covering the story of Turkey, of oil being smuggled out of Syria via Turkey by the United States or to the United States. The United States is in Syria illegally and steals 80% of Syria's oil. The United States and their allies are the global criminals of this world. And this is from Newsdesk. Washington steals over 80% of Syria's oil output per day. The losses incurred by the trafficking campaign surpasses, was it Serena Shim? Was that her name? I forget. Surpasses 100 billion, according to Syria's oil ministry. And, you know, Donald Trump said, we're here to take the oil. He said it out loud. Oh, they did not like that. They did not like that. I think it was Serena Shim. I think that was her name. But she was covering just this story. And it was, I believe this was like 5 years ago. Something like that. And lastly, the Biden administration has bombed Syria in response, it says, to attacks on U.S. forces. What Biden or the U.S. media won't explain is why U.S. forces are really in Syria, even though a senior U.S. official has done so very clearly. According to the Pentagon's Dana Stroul, the U.S. military is there so that U.S. can own Syria's resource-rich northeast, you know, it's called oil, is to give the U.S. leverage over Syria's political future, i.e. regime change. This is why Biden has put U.S. troops in harm's way in Syria, and this is why he's bombing it.
Now, this was a light footprint on the U.S. military, only about 1,000 troops over the course of the Syria Study Group's report, and then the tens of thousands of forces, both Kurdish and Arab, under the Syrian Democratic Forces. And that 1/3 of Syria is the resource rich, it's the economic powerhouse of Syria. So where the hydrocarbons are, which obviously is very much in the public debate here in Washington these days, as well as the agricultural powerhouse. But we argued that it wasn't just about this 1/3 of Syrian territory that the US military and our military presence owned, both to fight ISIS and also as leverage for affecting the overall political process, broader Syrian conflict. The United States still had compelling forms of leverage on the table to shape an outcome that was more conducive and protective.
Okay. Sounds reasonable to me. Super. I mean, the way she lays it out, it's just so, so logical. Of course, that's why we're there. Why not? I mean, we got to do it, bro. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. Tomorrow is Friday. We'll be doing the usual Friday fix. It's not going to be at noon though. I'm gonna shoot for 1 p.m. It may be a little bit later than 1, so I'm sorry I can't really give you like a super exact time, but let's say 1 p.m. tomorrow. Let's shoot for that, okay? 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 1 hour later than the usual time. And I did get a super chat on YouTube. Thank you, Basil Peterson. Chipped in $10. Thank you. And checking other platforms, but before I go through the whole spiel, well, this is the way you can support the show, and you know how it goes. Buymeacoffee.com/Blackburn News, Cash App at Red Llama Music, Venmo at Kevin Sandbloom, PayPal.me/Kevin Sandbloom. You can Zelle me at Kevin Sandbloom at ProtonMail.com. Thanks to everybody who supports the show. You know who you are, and it's pretty much everybody. And thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight. And until next time, peace.